welcome to the Do It All Dad, your podcast, dad-friendly entertainment for you and me. And this is episode 65. What Gen X parents understand. Facebook has rendered baby boomers the laziest grandparent generation of all time, turning them into the real-life slackers after all, limiting FaceTime with their grandkids to smartphones. Zit-Face Zuck is a puppet of the NSA because he's granted baby boomers the means to spy on their grandchildren from afar without having to adjust their spacious self-imposed lifestyle away from CNN and MSNBC. Can I get a holla for some holla? What Gen X parents understand. Christian Slater was our generation's unheralded Marlon Brando and Montgomery Clift and Nick Nolte all wrapped into one. What Gen X parents understand, our baby boomer dads will still ask if your vegetarian wife who eats fish can still eat chicken after 8 years of marriage, 3 kids later, despite being retired for 8, having plenty of time to brush up on the subject. What Gen X parents understand, Nas. Nasty Nas is a lyrical wordsmith slayer genius, the hip-hop George Carlin, whose lyrics are tougher than dice. What Gen X parents understand, similar to Dr. Seuss, Paul Thomas Anderson peaked early. What Gen X parents understand, Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld were the real axis of evil before Adam McKay decided to make a subpar movie about it a decade after Oliver Stone's W. What Gen X parents understand, Eddie Vedder turned out to be a more reliable, consistently great frontman rock crooner versus Axl Rose without ever having to turn his face into a melted candle wax replica from the November Rain video. Can I get a holla for some holla? What Gen X parents understand. Yelp was fun until crazy rich Asian girls took hold of it, rendering it Hello Kitty expressionless humorless, and went wild. Critics hate the golden Jew Adam Sandler because he's a beloved cash cow who's done dramatic work with James L. Brooks, so he's above real-life bitchy reproach. Peter Travers at Rolling Stone. What Gen X parents understand. Robert De Niro needs Marty to start writing him scripts again in a miserable way because he's an unfunny, low IQ individual, left to his own faculties, and no longer scary, tough either. What Gen X parents understand. Dennis Miller is a more fearless, God-loving Bill Maher, not trying to hide any sexual proclivities. What Gen X parents understand. Taking down all of the Louis C.K. specials from HBO is a tad hypocritical, knowing Roman Polanski's pianist is still up for tapping in your smartphone remote. What Gen X parents understand. There's Really Funny and Judd Apatow. And no matter how hard he tries, he'll never be in the same league as Harold Ramis. David Cross agrees. What Gen X parents understand. The New York Times hired editor Sarah Jiang because her millennial peers on Yelp produce writing quality a notch below gremlin poo. What Gen X parents understand. HPV vaccinations for our boys is a no-brainer. Like insisting they start attending junior high with lawyer-written pre-packaged consent forms for future signage. Can I get a holla for some holla? What Gen X parents understand. Baby boomers' idea of diversity is paying a different set of undocumented illegals to keep their empty nest tidy without lifting a finger every 5 years. Can I get a holla for some mucho dinero? What Gen X parents understand. Baby boomer hippies were the first generation that shit on vets like they were responsible, like the vets are responsible for starving hippies, eating back alley cats to stay alive in the streets of San Francisco. What Gen X parents understand. HPV vaccinations for our kids is a no-brainer. Like turning our daughters into lesbians to avoid contracting HIV. Name another type of sexual intercourse where they take a licking and keep on ticking. Can I get another holla for some holla? What Gen X parents understand. Stay-at-home dads can be trophy wives on paper, but not in reality, especially when the wife's smartphone alerts her to another questionable purchase. Hey, hubby, how is Bright at Chucky? What Gen X parents understand. Kevin Smith totally punched out the script of Good Will Hunting, injecting it with far greater heart Also, because Damon and Affleck off the screen are unfunny, blowhard douchebags in real life. What Gen X parents understand? Seth MacFarlane, Danny McBride, creator of Eastbound and Down, the cast behind Always Sunny in Philadelphia have consistently been robbed of Emmy nods and various other comedy accolades for being consistently funnier and more imaginative than the edgeless rest. What Gen X parents understand? 311 is the most underrated band of our generation, knowing they're the dreamy love child of Cypress Hill, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Faith No More. I'm not available, Rolling Stone, blow me. Off the list, ever since you decided to do a positive puff piece on John Podesta. Next, when Gen X parents understand, baby boomer arrogance never dies. What Gen X parents understand? Starbucks is evil. Gotten all of us addicted to even greater amounts of concentrated speed in the form of cranked up milligram dosages of Adderall or crushed snort up Ritalin in college. What Gen X parents understand? Stay at home dads' egos can't survive forever as dependent welfare mothers. Knowing you can't stare at a hard-body MILF hiking in Arizona without your wife blurting, "You only exist because of me. Can I get another holla for some holla?" What Gen X parents understand? Raising the Ride didn't do any favors for Michael, and helicopter parents fucked up millennial musketeers for good. What Gen X parents understand? Only magic can make HIV disappear, because he's Magic Johnson for a reason. I like to see King James pull off such a miraculous feat without a whole lot of magic's assistance. What Gen X parents understand? Starbucks is evil, and intentionally cranks up the caffeine content in their espresso shots, so we're more on edge than Harold Schultz's kids backpacking through Europe and Germany in the summer of 2019. What Gen X parents understand? Dazed and Confused is our Catcher in the Rye, despite it taking place in the 70s during Aerosmith's prime smack-taking years. What Gen X parents understand? Joan Rivers made sure the Obamas weren't invited to her funeral in advance for a reason. Joan lives. What Gen X parents understand? Sofia Coppola gave Bill Murray the permission to not even bother being laugh a lot funny anymore. What Gen X parents understand? Jack Black would be a star after his scene-stealing work in High Fidelity, knowing that he was exuding 10 times more charisma than Booger ever did in both of the Revenge of the Nerd films combined, which is nothing to sneeze at. Basta. What Gen X parents understand? Giving billions to Pakistan to keep Bin Laden comfy and warm made less sense than ABC thinking the Roseanne spinoff would work without her, after she tweeted about Valerie Jarrett being Obama's Arabian horse whisperer. Can I get another holla for some holla? What Gen X parents understand? Non-stop promotion of Black Panther being nominated as an Oscar contender rings shallow and false, like when Hillary Hammer Time Cankle stole the nomination from Bernie Sanders. Seth Rich lives! Only unsolved murder in Washington, D.C. history. Google it if you've been living under a rock forever and don't know the name Seth Rich. What Gen X parents understand? President Trump righted the wrongs committed by the VA hospital. Not some fake news hippie Bill Clinton. Unlike Baba, Obama, and Bush Jr., Trump can claim he's never inhaled anything but A+ runway ready trim. Can I get another holla for some holla? Ricky Gervais should host the Oscars every year, but Hollywood can't take whatever they dish out. Clint Eastwood would agree. What Gen X parents understand? Baby boomers are keeping the New York Times in business since they've become the fake newspaper of record for being too invested in a Russian collusion story with less legs than Lieutenant Dan to backtrack now. Can I get another holla for some holla? What Gen X parents understand? We must not make our daughters ever feel taken for granted for, or neglected, or blatantly ignored, or they'll seek love from coked out vampires in LA like the girl from the Fallen Angel video. What Gen X parents understand? Smashing Pumpkins song, Bullet with Butterflies, is our generation's answer to Billy Wilder's The Apartment, predating Office Space, which doesn't sound as momentous. Sorry, Butthead. Despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage. What Gen X parents understand? Either Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins comes from a divorce broken home, Always watch Ang Lee's Ice Storm on Showtime after coming down off too much acid. One too many times. What Gen X parents understand. Despite claims of being enlightened, less hateful feminists of yesteryear are Gen X. I'm sorry. Let's do that again. What Gen X parents understand. Despite claims of being enlightened, less hateful feminists of yesteryear are Gen Y wives still hate how much fun we have with our louder, more cheerful, toxic Avenger brothers in arms. What Gen X parents understand. Twitter has given an overrated quarterback the veneer of being a deep original thinker who thinks posing with Linda Sarsour is in the best interest of promoting racial harmony. What Gen X parents understand. Baby boomers equate beating their wife in Jeopardy as real-world transferable intelligence despite ignoring their firstborn's pleas to buy up every share of Google they could afford because their IT recruiter's son knew about it since Y2K. Yeah, and gave him a blatant heads up to do so. Yeah. What Gen X parents understand. Gen X parents understand that overscheduling kids' schedules is an offshoot defensive result to fill their kids' free time with more than different strokes and facts of life, which got us nowhere fast. What Gen X parents understand. Gen X parents understand Patton Oswalt's voice is no Daniel Stearns from Wonder Years, which always sounded way more like Richard Dreyfuss. What Gen X parents understand. We understand hair metal power ballads are still cherished because they're beautiful, kick-ass songs about romantic longing, which never got played out in our hearts. What Gen X parents understand. Gen X parents understand our generation invented the internet garbage heap it's become. What Gen X parents understand. We understand Social Security, pensions, and company loyalty are less secure these days than Kathy Griffin since a Skin Clifford and Trench Tucky had a baby. Gen X parents today understand Social Security, pensions, and company loyalty are less secure than Chelsea Handler since she became a full-time social justice warrior to downplay her boobs' sinking popularity. Gen X parents understand today Social Security, pensions, and company loyalty are less secure than Cheney's soul renewal lease agreement with the devil if Christian Bale wins Best Actor in the Oscars for 2019. What Gen X parents understand today is that we understand that hip-hop back in the day was the most badass, hilarious, accessible, social change, activist-minded, slamming poetry ever produced. KRS-One is like Neil deGrase Tyson. They're interesting for 3-minute spurts at a time. What Gen X parents understand. We understand President Trump isn't a real-life Nazi Eminem, knowing he lifted the lifetime ban on Jewish membership after he purchased Mar-a-Lago. Slim on facts, shady. The end. Hope you enjoyed that, folks. My editor at the Good Man Project thinks that the title is instantaneous clickbait, and I would agree because headline hookers are my forte. So I did mention Neil deGrase Tyson before. Obviously, he's seen better days. For the record, I wrote this before the charges of sexual harassment. And this is inspired by a trip to the Museum of Natural History with my 3 beautiful kids. And again, I want to give a shout out again to the Good Man Project. They republished another piece of mine today. My boy was bound to woo. Original title was Chosen Curls is bound to woo, but I understand that, Chosen Curls can be a little bit confusing. And at times people don't necessarily know they're talking about my son. But not a big deal, because I get to share my own title on my podcast. Because I have that freedom. Because I'm proud to be an American. So here we go. This is, you're going to love this. God made Neil deGrase interesting for 3-minute spurts. Doodle dad tip. Tell your kids God made man to create the Bible to test your faith in him. Because the Origin of Man exhibit at the Museum of Natural History, in addition to their Big Bang promo reel at the Hayden Planetarium, are excluded Cliff Notes and Genesis. Can I get another holla for some holla? So this is a conversation at home. A new Wes Anderson film, Isle of Dogs, is playing. The other says, this movie is blood drained from my face, dramatic, slow. And this is me, the stand-up comedian dad. The wise dog in it sounds like Fantastic Mr. Fox and Hello Kitty had a throwless roll in the hay. Grandparent myth. Dun dun dun. Grandmas love their grandchildren the same. Here's a Thanksgiving card progression for my 3 children. I understand this material is a little bit dated over here, but still works. Firstborn, Mimi, we'll see you soon. Secondborn, wish we could spend Thanksgiving with you. Third kid, ditto what Snoopy says. I'm spent. So I vote for Dwight Howard and Bruce Jenner to host the ESPYs next year, but they have to make out like Britney and Madonna. That would be so hot. Brett Favre would puke dip into his mouth. Tom Brady would get mildly aroused. Can I get another holla for some holla? Googling interfaith marriage is brutal. I've learned about a half black, half Jewish kid who was never considered pure Jew by the rabbinical powers to be, despite this kid having a black dad who worked as a physicist for NASA and having a mom who marched with Dr. King. My parents can't claim neither. It's Marcus Gasol. I have plenty of respect for Coach. Talking about his old coach. They now coaches the Knicks, who suck. But we'll get the number 1 draft pick. Marcus Gasol. I have plenty of respect for Coach. I'm a better player because of him. New York Post reporter. Off the record, David Fizdale told you European players are softer than EU immigration laws, didn't he? Can I get another holla for some holla? It's me in the car. It's my daughter. It's just coming back from the Museum of Natural History. My daughter. My favorite part, Dada, was the Origin of Man exhibit. Told you Adam and Eve weren't the first people on Earth, and this is me. If Bill Maher heard you, he'd write $1 million check for the museum and make another donation in his pants. Can I get another holla for some holla? It's my daughter. I'm glad you were able to have like 3 manly conversations about the Knicks when we were in the big city, Daddy. And I said, oh, I appreciate that sentiment, Matilda. But what I don't understand is, how does that one guy in the pizzeria still defend Melo's suckitude? Like, same for Obama, but like at least Melo didn't spy on LeBron's secret workouts. I remember reading a long time ago that Michael Jordan had secret workouts, and so did Clyde, and so did, what's his name? Not Clyde Frazier, Clyde Drexler. Yeah, both in good sky. And there is footage of Drexler dunking from the foul line, like in motion, which was crazy. Bedroom. And I will admit, this is a good fact pointed out by Bill Simmons in his book of basketball, which I do recommend. It is good writing. And he talked about he made the observation that, Drexler was the only like all-star that ever like dribbled from coast to coast with his head down on the floor in the process, which I thought was funny and insightful on Bill's behalf. In this case, I don't really mind his kumquat smirking existence any longer. So here we go. This is a conversation with the wife. She says, you look like a hipster Republican in your Knicks winter hat. And I say, Trump has made the Knicks hustle and play defense again. When Obama was president, blameless, divisive ISO mellow ball ruled our world. Perfect line to shut up any Barack Obama lickers left. Obviously, there aren't too many Vanity Fair these days either. Check out some recent hit pieces on the formerly precious Obama and tell me otherwise. But here we go. Perfect line to, not that I give a shit about their opinion of Vanity Fair, but here we go. Good to know that I always like Vanity Fair. There's a good writing, so good to know that some people are becoming awakened or red-pilled, if you will, or listen to this podcast. Yeah. So perfect line to shut up Obama lickers left. Your gee-whiz shrug of arrogance makes you look like James Comey if he spilled the beans about Seth Rich's murder, sold his own sweaters, and was relocated to Bushwick under the Witness Protection Program. Can I get another holla for some holla? It's my wife. I think the Bible was meant to be metaphorical, not literal. It was me. Or you're just absolving yourself of guilt for luring me to bang you on the rag again last month. Or absolving me from never being anal about ass play either. It's us at the planetarium that was mentioned before. So Dark Universe film airs, narrated by Neil DeGrase Tyson. I doze 3 minutes in. My daughter hits me. And this is me. What? Neil deGrasse Tyson can't carry a film despite a panoramic rendering of the universe in his favor. This is the Do It All Dad Year podcast. Dad-friendly entertainment for you and me. Controlling our kids to comedy. Can make our kids great again. And I'll talk to you guys soon.